What is up, guys? It is Hudson here, back again with another video. And what I want to talk about today, what I'd like to show you is my Arcane Mage pre-patch guide. And I'm going to be going over what you're going to need gear-wise, and then I'm going to be going over how the rotation will be performed. And you are in for a fucking doozy in this video, guys. There is a lot of arcane changes, and there is a lot of new stuff to know. So let's dig into things. Okay, guys, so I actually made a really long ass version of this, and then I came back, and when I was editing, I was like, shit, I just need to refilm this and make this a lot quicker and concise. So I'm gonna try to speed this up and get into the depth of things as quick as possible. But before I do that, I'd like to talk about the Arcane Changes. So the first change I'd like to talk about is Touch of the Magi. Touch of the Magi is now a baseline ability. I'm going to put these up on the screen, right over there, kind of on the notepad, to show you what they are. You can read them yourselves. And also you can see all these changes at Wowhead. Just type in like Arcane Changes 9.0 Shadowlands or something like that, and they should all pop up. Another change we got Alter Time baseline, and is a new ability that we got. Actually, it's awesome. I'll put that up there. You can read it as well. Very, very nice defensive ability added into our defensive toolkit, which was already very stellar as mages. Now, the talent changes. I'm not going to go too in-depth into the talent changes, but as you can see, we're actually, like I said, Touch of the Magi is now a baseline ability, so they had to replace that talent with something. And I don't know if I mentioned, but Touch of the Magi is now a 45-second cooldown, and then not a passive anymore. It actually accumulates 25% of the damage you do during the Touch of the Magi window, which is like, 7-8 seconds long. But it was replaced with this talent, Arcane Echo, now. And what Arcane Echo does is it deals extra damage every time you deal damage to an enemy whenever they have Touch of the Magi on them. And it pulses to nearby enemies as well. So I actually think that this is currently the best ability for single target. I actually don't think it's terribly bad. One of the downsides of this is that it encourages you to use arcane missiles, because every hit of that arcane missiles actually counts as damage. So it just adds in, like, compounds damage during your Touch of the Magi phases, right? Now, getting down to these last two rows, Arcane Orb was actually switched out of the 50 row and brought down here, and then Enlightened was brought down to the 50 row. And if you know what Enlightened is essentially Equipoise, the Azerite trait, where it gives you a damage buff if you're above 70% mana, and allows you to regen more mana if you're below 70% mana. And this row essentially is just like, they're all passive, so you end up just picking whatever is tuned better currently and kind of play around it if you need to. But now the 45 row, Arcane Orb is essentially going to be the default on single target, which is, I really like that. I actually really like that. So it gives you a little bit more, like, kind of passive cleave. So if you want to go single target, you still have a little bit more options for cleave now, as this is like a full AoE row. And same here, Arcane Echo, since it's the best single target option, it gives you some options for cleave as well. And I think Arcane really needs some passive cleave, or needed. So this is very hopeful for myself. Now, the rest of the changes, I already talked about Arcane Echo, but Arcane Barrage now refunds mana. I think if you do like, I think it's like 2% per arcane charge that you spend on Arcane Barrage refunds mana. It might be 2% plus 2% for each charge, so a total of 10%. I could be wrong on that. They're constantly changing this stuff, but it doesn't matter for pre-patch, actually, because this only happens at level 52, unfortunately. So for pre-patch, whenever we're level 50, we will not be having this, and it leads to a larger problem that I've noticed while playing pre-patch is Arcane. We actually are very low on mana. And then this next thing, Arcane Power, is changed to a 2-minute cooldown instead of a 1.5-minute cooldown, which was then compensated by making it 15 seconds long and reducing Overpowered's power from 60% to 50%. Now, this as well contributes to our mana problem because you actually don't get it to be 15 seconds until you hit like 56 or something, until you hit a higher level, right? You don't have the 15 seconds at level 50. You actually only have 10 seconds at level 50, which is quite unfortunate. Yeah, it really hurts our burn windows. And then Presence of Mind actually has 3 charges, but you get this as you're leveling to level 60 as well. So it only has 2 charges at level 50 still. These are a lot of really good changes for whenever we're level 60, but pre-patch is going to feel a little bit bad and you won't be able to see all of these changes, unfortunately. One change that you will get to see is Mana Gem. Mana Gem is something you can conjure, much like a Health Stone. You can't trade it to other players, I don't believe. Maybe other mages, probably not. Probably it's just for yourself mainly though, and it actually gives you 10% mana whenever you use it, and you can use it in combat, of course, and you can conjure them whenever. And then the last part is Mastery now. So Arcane Mage Mastery was known for not scaling very well in AoE, whereas now it actually affects all arcane damage, so it scales well in both single target and AoE, and scales with missiles and everything else. So it's actually relatively good stat now. So as a disclaimer, before I get into some of the more concrete stuff of this build, of this arcane build for pre-patch, I just want to mention that a lot of this is going to be more feely crafty than my previous videos, and that is because I don't have accurate sims for the pre-patch. I'm not going to go too into detail as to why that is the case, but I don't believe that anyone will have accurate sims for pre-patch because, in my opinion, you actually have to develop a new APL for Arcane based on the mana regeneration and the lack of special abilities that are at level 60 that I already talked about. Anyway, I just wanted to make that known, and if you want any more questions about that or want to discuss this further, please feel free to do that in the comments or in my Discord that I link below. So, getting into talents, I chose Amplification, right? We chose Amplification right here because Clearcast and Arcane Missiles are super powerful right now. Arcane Missiles is super powerful, and Rule of Threes, like I said, we have a mana problem, and Rule of Threes and Arcane Familiar kind of help with that. Arcane Familiar not as much, but Rule of Threes does help with that a little bit. But I found that whenever you're in conserve phases, even with Rule of Threes, you're not able to get to the full 4 stacks, right, and regen your mana from that, right? You actually stay steady mana even with Rule of Threes. So I found in conserve phases that I've been actually better off without Rule of Threes, and Amplification helps your damage a lot. 25 is a movement row, not going to talk about that. And then 30, Rune of Power. I will be playing Rune of Power. You need to pick this. This is the choice for this row. Row 35 for single target, pick Arcane Echo. For AoE, you can pretty much pick Resonance. Resonance does sim better than Arcane Echo at level 60. I don't foresee that being any different for level 50. Nether Tempest is a little bit weird. Don't want to talk about that. Another movement or utility row, and then row 55. Arcane Orb, I've actually been picking for AoE and single target. I believe Reverberate might sim a little bit better in AoE, but I still just like the Arcane Orb playstyle, especially in Mythic Plus. And then you can pick Supernova if you are a weirdo or something. And then row 50, I've been choosing Overpowered for both single target and AoE. It sims better for level 60s for both of those situations, I believe still. Last time I saw sims at least. So this will be the one to pick. Now, going into Azerite Traits, like I said, it's gonna be a little bit feely crafty, but just thinking these out, you're like I said, the rotation, you're so mana starved a lot of the times now, which is the opposite of what it's like at level 60 on the beta, right? But you're actually very mana starved, so I don't foresee Equipoise being super helpful because it actually doesn't save you much mana. The big benefit is giving you extra Arcane Blast damage, but you're not going to be over 70% mana that often, and when you are, you're actually going to be casting your missiles a lot, so you won't even be gaining any damage whenever you're casting your missiles. That's why I think that I will probably be picking I'm going to be picking 3 Arcane Pummelings. I think I'm going to be doing it because clear casting is just so helpful. You're going to be consuming a lot of mana, so you might be getting more clear casting procs, and if you pick Amplification, that's super helpful. And then also if you get these clear castings during your Touch of the Magi windows, it's just even more damage amplification. So I'll probably be picking 2 or 3 Arcane Pummelings. I'll probably be picking 1 or 2 Equipoise, and then I'll probably be picking 1 or 2 Galvanizing Sparks. And that's mostly it. Really, any of the dungeon basic stat passive traits are not horrible, I'm sure. Arcane may just scale pretty well with all stats currently, I believe. Then getting into Heart of Azeroth, there's really 2 major essences that I find synergize very well with the toolkit. World Vein Resonance, because of the way that you have you'll have a big burn and then a small burn. So you'll start off with your big burn at the beginning at 0 seconds, and then you'll have a small burn at about 1 minute. and then you'll have a big burn in about 2 minutes. So this Worldbane Resonance actually synergizes super well with that playstyle because you'll have it up every minute for each of the big burn and the small burn. So that's super nice. But we still have mana problems. So I think I might be playing Memory of Lucid Dreams a little bit. I've played it right on these target dummies and it feels pretty nice. I'm going to be completely honest. I can see myself playing Memory of Lucid Dreams a lot. It's hard to keep enough mana throughout your big burn phases, which is 30 seconds long, without that 15-second long arcane power, right? Because at level 50, we only have a 10-second long arcane power. So Memory of Lucid Dreams kind of helps make up for that. Now for the minors, I would suggest playing like Focusing Iris if you can, probably Conflict and Strife if you can, and then if you're going to be playing Worldbane, you're going to want Memory of Lucid Dreams as a minor, but if you have Memory of Lucid Dreams as a major, you can really pick any like stat one for a minor, like Formless Void or something like that. Generally, I would say one to stay away from that's a trap is definitely Vision of Perfection. I would not choose Vision of Perfection. Yes, you reduce your most powerful cooldown, but you're just constantly mana starved. It's very hard to play around in my practice so far. As for stat distribution, I can run The Sims right now and see like, oh, well, this stat scales better, right? It's not accurate. It is not accurate. If anyone tells you they know that, I would love for you to direct them to me. I would love to see what they have. I would love to see their findings, but no one that I've seen so far, no one in the Mage Discord, no one that has come to me or that I have seen anywhere has shown any reliable Sims for pre-patch stats distribution or anything. So I'm honestly gonna say I'm just gonna say like I don't know this, and that's like something that's fine to say. I just don't know this. What I will personally be doing is I will probably be gearing about equally for all stats because of the way that stat DR works now. So if you get like too much of a certain stat, it becomes less valuable every point after that, after you hit that DR mark. But I'm not sure how it works at level 50. I know how it works at level 60, but I'm not sure at level 50. So I'm going to experiment whenever pre-patch hits. But currently, I'm not terribly worried about stat distribution. I'll probably just try to play, more even stats and just mostly pick the highest item level with socket gear that I have. So before I get into the rotation, I just want to mention that you can check this guide by Malin or Malon, however you want to pronounce it, on Wowhead. I will link it below. It says Arcane Mage Rotation Guide, and I believe he will be updating this for the foreseeable future. But this is actually where I got the pre-patch rotation from, and then altered it a little bit because it's slightly out of date. It doesn't include the mana regen nerfs to Arcane Mage. Okay, so I'm going to do my rotation. As I said in the other videos, I believe, the server is a little bit laggy, so I would suggest... Also, I'm going to be doing this in one take, so I would suggest following the literal guide that I show. Like, I'm going to be putting the rotational guide on the screen right here. Follow that more so than what I'm actually doing, because this isn't super refined. I just wanted to give a rough, a quick guide that I could do in a couple takes for pre-patch, and then, the more refined guides I'm working on right now for Shadowlands. So that's whenever you can pay more attention to that. But... oh, pardon me. Pay more attention to the rotation, like up top or, over to the side or whatever. So starting off, we're going to do the single target rotation. Single target rotation is pretty standard right now. What it consists of is 3 phases. You're going to have your big burn phase. Your big burn phase consists of you using essentially all your cooldowns. You're going to use Touch of the Magi into Arcane Power. And no matter what you're doing, you're going to start off with your Essence before you do anything, right? Like pre-pull. And then you're going to do, like I said, Essence and then Touch of the Magi. Then you're going to do Arcane Power into Arcane Missiles spam until the Touch of the Magi wears off. And then at that point, you are going to instantly press Presence of Mind and then spam Arcane Blasts. You're going to spam Arcane Blasts then until your Rune of Power wears off after 15 seconds, right? And then you're going to immediately cast another Rune of Power, right as that one's about to wear off, and then go continuously back into Arcane Blasts until you are out of mana. Once you are out of mana, then you're going to Evocate, go into your Conserve phase, right? And you just want to keep enough mana so you can burn the next phase, right? So you can really stay around like 90% mana if you can help it. And just like, Arcane Blast, and then like, maybe get 2 charges and then dump them. Or if you're close to if you're above like 90% mana, you can probably do 3 or 4 and then dump charges, but you just want to, it's like a balance. You want to keep your mana at a certain percentage each time. And you kind of have to find that for your character as well, because it depends on your mastery and other factors like that. Then you go into your small burn phase at exactly 1 minute. At exactly 1 minute, that's whenever your Rune of Power and your Touch of the Magi are both available. And you're going to then Rune of Power, then Touch of the Magi. You'll have 4 charges, and you will then Arcane Missiles until your Touch of the Magi is done. And then after that, you will then Arcane Blast, right? And then you might, depending on you really don't want your mana to be further down than maybe like 40%. Again, it depends for you, and you'll know these numbers whenever Shadowlands hits and you're level 60. But for right now, it's like a little bit feely crafty, so you gotta feel it out for yourself. But you want to make sure you have enough mana for your next big burn phase, right? But you also still want to burn during that Rune of Power a little bit. So you might have to dump charges before the Rune of Power is over. Then you go back into your big burn, or then you go back into your conserve phase, right, for a little bit. And then at 2 minutes, you go back into your big burn phase and just essentially repeat. So now that I explained that, it took hella long. I'm going to show you here an example of it. Oh, a nice clear casting proc on those missiles. That feels good, man. And then we're going to finish up right here. Let's get a couple of these while Arcane Power's still going. And okay. Clear casting proc. You actually will use your clear casting procs because they're so powerful. And then, see, my mana is still relatively high when I use Lucid Dreams Major, but like my mana is going to literally go down to 0. I'm not getting too many clear casting procs right here. Go down to 0, and then I'm going to evocate right here. You want to evocate with max charges so you can, utilize your mana that you gained right at the end. Yeah, right here. Capping on mana is generally not good. Then I'm entering my conserve phase right here. Notice how, like, fucking quickly my mana goes down. Clear casting procs help you regen mana, by the way, which is nice. They don't directly give you back mana, you're just not spending mana while you're using them, which is quite nice. Now I'm waiting then for my Rune of Power to be, what the hell? Don't know why I clicked off right there. Waiting for my Rune of Power, and then I'm going into Touch of the Magi, and then back into missile spam, right? While this Touch of the Magi is on the target. A nice clear casting proc gives me extra arcane missile damage. And then we're going back into Arcane Blast. You see I'm at 50% mana before this Rune of Power is done, so I'm going to switch back into my conserve phase a little bit before that Rune of Power is over, just because I'm a little bit nervous about mana. Now right here, you see my mana getting hella low. I didn't conjure my mana gem, right? So I'm actually going to be really low on mana here. But you'll want to use like your mana gem right around now to get some mana back probably. And I'm just going to literally be generating like 1 or 2 charges and then refunding, and then using my barrage because my mana is super, super low. And you need a good bit of mana going into your big burn phase. So yeah, I'll use a little bit more because I'm coming up around 50% now. Getting some refunds from Memory Lucid Dreams procs. There, and then we're about to go back into burn phase. Yep, here we are. Burn, 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 baby. Also, I may not have mentioned this, but Arcane Power drops your Rune of Power now, which is super nice. Second Rune of Power, and then this is essentially the rotation, guys. This is it. And look at that damage, man. Okay, so for the AoE rotation, I'm actually not even going to put it up. I'm just going to kind of explain it while I do it. Maybe I'll put a little something up, some notes, but maybe not a priority list or something super extensive, because this is, again, feely crafty, and it's based on a lot of like mana regeneration, which is going to be wildly different, especially the way that Arcane Barrage refunds mana at level 60. So this is going to be wildly different than what's optimal at level 60. And with that said, I don't feel comfortable using the level 60 sims to say how at level 50 you should play for AoE, whereas for single target I feel that it will be mostly the same, just with more mana regeneration at level 60. So right here I am probably going to be I'm going to stay with Arcane Orb, even though Reverberate may be slightly better on like 4 or 5 targets. I'm going to stay with Arcane Orb because I like the playstyle. And I'm going to actually move from Arcane Echo to Resonance. Resonance, I believe, does more damage, at least at level 60. I believe it does currently. So I'm going to be playing with that. And then this one isn't really too important. You really won't be... I would say probably play with Arcane Familiar, but like if this were a Mythic Plus, I'd probably just stick with Amplification anyway. And then I will show you the rotation right now. Essentially, you're going to be using your stuff, like you're going to be using your single target cooldowns, but then your AoE abilities, right? So you'll go in, you'll use your Memory of Lucid Dreams, your Touch of the Magi, then immediately Arcane Power, and then essentially your whole thing will be about building charges using Arcane Explosion and dumping them using Arcane Barrage. And mana problems generally aren't as bad for AoE because constant AoE is actually doesn't happen very often. Like, how often do you fucking like hit 4 targets for 2 minutes straight? Like, yes, in Mythic Plus, but then after that 2 minutes you have a break, so then you can like even like you can just eat, right? In between pulls and stuff like that. So mana problems aren't, they'll seem really bad for constant AoE, right? But in this game, you actually don't find constant AoE as much as you would think. So whenever you see me low on mana, kind of remember that here. But you're essentially going to generate charges with the Arcane Explosion and then dump them with Barrage and then use your cooldowns as normal. Essentially on cooldown, you actually want to use them. So going into this, we're going to Memory of Lucid Dreams, Touch of the Magi, Arcane Power, dump charges, and then we're going to actually build charges, and then we're going to dump them, and then we're going to use, Orb, then we're going to continue, and then once this ends, here we are, we're going to put another rune down, and your clear casting procs are actually consumed on free Arcane Explosions, so they're not being wasted here or anything. And I think we can get another Orb out, during this rune, which is nice, and then another Barrage. See, we're doing like actually a shit ton of damage right now. We're doing pretty well for ourselves. You notice our mana is less than halfway down and we're maybe 30 seconds in right now, but that's not too bad really. We still have evocation, and here we are. I'm gonna wait for rune. Oh wait, I'm gonna Barrage, Touch of the Magi, Barrage with all those charges, Orb, and then Barrage again into that Touch of the Magi target right there, which is actually a fucking sick combo. And then now that I'm out of mana, I'm going to Evocate. Yep, get all my mana back, put a rune down, and continue. I should be able to get a Arcane Orb into this rune. Yeah, this is actually really nice. I think I got 3 full barrages at least into that rune. And we're continuing. Yep, and this is really about it. We might not make it the whole way back to Arcane Power with the way our mana is, but for the most part, you're able to go about 2 minutes before you run out of mana, or close to it, 1:30. Orb, go. Might have wanted to waited for Touch of the Magi to use that orb, but it's not the biggest deal. Mainly just use your stuff on cooldown. It is the AoE rotation that I would suggest right now, and then we'll kind of get more information. Whenever we hit level 60 and Shadowlands is released and the full AoE APL is released as well. So I know I said in the beginning that I didn't want this to be a long one, that I actually was editing the old one and wanted to come back to make it shorter, and I actually did make it shorter, so it still ended up being hella long, so sorry about that. Thank you guys for sticking around. I think that this way of playing Arcane is actually going to be really fun in the pre-patch, and I'm excited to play it. Unfortunately, we don't get some of those benefits that you get whenever you're leveling to 60, but I think that it will still be fun. You're gonna be a little bit low on mana while you're playing, but it will be fun. Now, please let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you think you will have fun. Let me know if you've been testing it on the PTR for pre-patch, or if you've been testing level 60 on beta or anything like that. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys later.